Welcome to the Full Circle Show. The Full Circle Show is the Artist Podcast. Every week, we bring on artists who share their journeys within their creative field in hopes to inspire, inform, and entertain you, the listener. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome back. Another episode of the Full Circle Show. This is episode 22. This one's a solo episode. I'm actually editing 2 episodes right now that I recorded last week. This is episode 22. This is a continuation of the series that we've been doing with this book right here, Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Today, we're going to be covering takeaway number 3. Takeaway number 3 is share something small every day. So if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in. And so with these solo episodes that I'm doing covering the book, I'm just going to be going over 10 takeaways that the book shares. This one is number 3. If you haven't checked out the other 2, I recommend you do so. So with how this works is I just go by quote. I find 3 main quotes within the book or within the chapter that I like, and then I just kind of give my thoughts on them. And yeah, that's pretty much how it is. Without further ado, let's get into it. Put yourself and your work out there every day and you'll start meeting some amazing people. Boom. It has come up so many times on the show with guests that they reach out to people. They DM people, they ask them questions, they just admire their work, kind of showing some love. That has come up so many times, and it seems like almost every episode we literally just touch up on it every time. I think what the quote is saying is putting your work out there and people contact you and reach out to you. And that's definitely something that I can relate to. I mean, with the podcast itself, I was able to connect with amazing people, not just the guests that I reach out to directly and, have them on the show and talk with them. But just recently, last week, I was able to get on the first podcast because shout out Albert Fig, he reached out to me and we linked up and we just chopped it up. That's just one example of things that can happen. Sometimes other peers that are in the same industry, you guys collab on something. Maybe someone's asking for some help. They're stuck, on something that maybe they see that you kind of figured out or you're working on. Or business opportunities, right? Job offers, project offers, new client relationships, things of that sort, right? Just by sharing your work out there. You never know who's watching. It's social media. I know that's why people just blow up like that. And it's crazy to see how some guy riding on a skateboard, drinking ocean spray can blow up. It's the internet. You just never know. I think that's not a direct example of what the book is talking about, but it just goes to show how spontaneous and how instant, shit can change for you. Takeaway number 2, make no mistake. This is not your diary. You are not letting it all hang out. You are picking and choosing every single word. Danny Shapiro, that's actually a quote within the book. You control what you put out and what you say. Now, this can be good and bad. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the negative side of things and how that develops in itself, I definitely recommend you check out Baller Busters on Instagram, CoffeeZilla and Spencer Cornelia on YouTube. Super insightful on the scammy side of the industry, on any industry, right? I won't get too much into it, but if you're interested in that, go check them out. But you ultimately control what you share on social media. You choose what you put out. You choose what work to show, what not to show, obviously. I think it was in the first solo episode, there are some things that you can't really share sometimes, right? And yeah, you ultimately control what you share on social media. Takeaway number 3, your daily dispatch can be anything you want. A blog, an email, a tweet, a YouTube video, or some other little bit of media. This is something that I have been personally focusing on sharing something every day, whether it's a post, a comment, or a DM. I at least try to hit one of those every single day. It's not always about posting. It can be about leaving a comment on something you find interesting, or messaging someone, DMing someone that you haven't talked to in a bit or you don't talk to that often, or maybe someone new. This isn't really in the script that I have, but I did want to share it. It was from Chris Do, where he mentions that it should be fun. It shouldn't be to the point where you have to force yourself to do something, or if it's not fun, or if you don't find it interesting, or you don't find it curious, like you're not curious about it, then you're not forced to do it. You shouldn't have to do it. You shouldn't feel like you have to do it. It should be fun. So I think that's why sometimes leaving comments or just DMing someone, can be just as impactful. And then another one, last one, just kind of like a little bonus. It kind of ties into the other one. One little blog post is nothing on its own, but post 1,000 blog posts over a decade and it turns into your life's work. I'm just going to show you an illustration of this that it has on the book, and I think it'll be kind of self-explanatory. And I think it's a great way of the simplicity and the simplicity of what it's trying to say, right? So for those of you listening, it has 1x for one day, and then for 1 month it has 30 x's. And then if you flip the page over, for 1 year, it has 365 X's. And you can see in terms of size and quantity how much that growth has progressed to. And for those of you watching, here's that. If you want to check out the video version of this podcast, we are on YouTube. You can check us out there. And this might be a little promo piece that I cut out for social media. But yeah, if you want to check out the video, on YouTube, Full Circle Show. Check us out. That's pretty much it for today's episode. The concept in itself is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, easier said than done. But if you share something every day, something that I'm obviously working on every single day as well, pushing myself to share something and grow and compound that into my life's work, right? But I'm obviously not perfect and obviously working at it. So commenting or DMing someone new or someone that I haven't talked to in a bit can just be as impactful. And it's a good way to check in on people who you haven't talked to in a bit. So if you got something out of it, I would greatly appreciate it if you shared the podcast or this episode with someone that you know. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.